Hi everyone, I'm Zoe with True Crime Stories, real crime, real people, and real horror. We're going to get right into it with this episode tonight. It's going to be an interesting one. For nearly 20 years, someone was hunting women across Washington state. He watched highways, back roads, and isolated stretches of the Pacific Northwest, waiting for the right moments. His victims were young women. Many were runaways or sex workers, just trying to survive. One by one, they vanished, and their bodies began appearing near a quiet place called the GreenRiver. No one suspected who the killer was. He blended in perfectly. A husband, a father, a regular guy at work. But inside him lived one of the most prolific serial killers in American history. This story is of Gary Ridgway, the GreenRiver Killer. Our story begins in the summer of 1982. Outside Seattle, a group of teenagers were swimming in the GreenRiver when they noticed something caught in the water. It was the body of a young woman, 16-year-old Wendy Caulfield. Within weeks, more bodies were discovered in the same area. Different women, same pattern. Young, vulnerable, strangled, left near the river or nearby forests. The media quickly created a name that terrified the region. The GreenRiver Killer. But whoever he was, he left almost nothing behind. No fingerprints, no witnesses, no vehicle sightings, nothing. The only thing that kept appearing was more victims. While the public searched for a monster, the real killer lived in a perfectly normal life. His name was Gary Leon Ridgway, born in 1949. If you saw him on the street, you wouldn't think twice. He was quiet, polite. He worked as a spray painter at a truck factory for nearly 30 years. He had wives, relationships, and even went to church. He'd hand out religious flyers near the same areas where he picked up his victims. But behind that image, Ridgway had a deep anger toward women. His marriages were filled with control, jealousy, and late at night he'd drive his pickup truck through the Pacific Highway area, searching for women he believed wouldn't be missed. He'd gain their trust, took them to a private place, and strangled them, usually with his bare hands. What makes him even more disturbing is that he returned to some of the bodies later, sometimes days later. Ridgway once admitted, "Killing was my career. It was my job." By the mid-1980s, Washington state was in panic. Hundreds of missing women were reported. Police launched what would grow into one of the largest serial killer investigations in the U.S. history. Dozens of detectives, FBI profilers, and forensic teams worked night and day, but the killer stayed ahead of them. In 1984, investigators even reached out to Ted Bundy, who was on death row at the time. Bundy gave chilling insight. He suggested the killer might return to his dump sites. And he was right. But even with the insight, the case went cold for years. Then came the late 1990s. Forensics had evidence, and old evidence stored in the original crime scenes. was tested again. But now, with modern DNA technology, in 2001, breakthrough finally came. DNA from several victims matched one man, Gary Ridgway. The same quiet truck factory worker who had been questioned briefly in 1983 and released due to lack of evidence. When the detectives confronted him, he acted calm, confused, and almost bored. But the DNA didn't lie. Ridgway was arrested November 2001. Facing the possibility of death penalty, Ridgway made a deal in exchange for a life in prison. He would confess to every murder he could remember. And then, horrifyingly, truth poured out. For months, detectives listened as Ridgway casually described picking up victims, killing them, and dumping their bodies. He confessed to 49 murders, but investigators believe it may be more than 70. Ridgway said he killed so many women that he lost count. One quote still haunts investigators. "I killed them all. I don't know why, I just did." Some detectives cried listening to him. He really remembered names, only places. To him, his victims were locations, not people. In 2003, Gary Ridgway stood in court. He pled guilty to 48 murders, the largest number of murders any American serial killer has ever admitted to. Family members of the victims spoke directly to him. Their words were angry, heartbroken, full of pain. But then one father did something no one expected. He looked Ridgway in the eyes and said, "Mr. Ridgway, there are people here who hate you. I'm not one of them. You are forgiven." For the first time, Ridgway broke down and cried. He was sentenced to 48 life sentences, without the possibility of parole, plus 480 extra years of tampering with evidence. He will die in prison. Today, Ridgway is still alive, serving his sentence in Washington State Prison. The GreenRiver case changed how police hunt serial offenders. It pushed advancements in DNA, victim profiling, and collaborations across agencies. But the story isn't just about Ridgway. It's about the dozens of young women whose lives were stolen. Women who deserved protection. Women who deserved justice. Women who deserved to be remembered. The GreenRiver Killer still flows gently through Washington. But for many, it's a name will always carry the memory of the lives lost along its banks. This is one of the most darkest stories I've ever told. I'm your host, Zoe. Stay safe, and remember, sometimes the quietest person in the room hides the darkest secrets. Good night, everyone.